When we're writing programs, we'll come to a point where we want to have some reusable code for performing a task. This can be achieved by using a function. Functions are a massive topic and would be worthy of a course all to themselves. But let's wrap up this course with an introduction to what a function is. So a function is a block of code that does something and then returns some value. It's a bit like having some bundled up functionality which we can use in multiple places. So for example, if we knew we wanted to add two values, we could have a simple function that does this and then returns the total. Then every time we wanted to do this calculation, we could call the function to do the calculation for us. When we create a function, we define it first. And by this we mean we create it. Like when you make a meal, you prepare it and you cook it before it's served and consumed. Later, you call or run the function. So this is a bit like saying the serving and consuming part of the meal example. We've looked at methods in this course, such as the toUpperCase method or the trim methods on strings. These are actually examples of functions. The only reason that they're called methods is this is what we call functions when they are stored inside an object, but they are still functions. What we haven't done yet is creating or defining a function. We have a few ways we can create functions in JavaScript, but we'll look at the approach which is called a function declaration, and it uses the function keyword. So let's start by creating a function called basic function, which will just print a console log out. So we use the function keyword, we add the function's name, so basic function, we add a set of parentheses, and some curly braces. Inside the curly braces, we'll just add a console log, which will just say hello. Once this is saved, it's defined and stored in memory, but nothing will ever happen unless we use this function. So to use the function, we need to run it, and we do this by using the function name followed by parentheses, just like we did with the method examples earlier in this course. So we'll say basic function, and we'll add the parentheses. We'll save this and go back to the console, and we'll press refresh. Now you can see the function runs, and we get our console log hello printed out. Functions let us pass into them some inputs, which we can use within the function. We call these arguments. If we wanted to write a function which added two numbers, the numbers we wanted to add would be passed into the function when we call it, and these are what we call the arguments. We have used arguments before when we passed a value into a method. As with when we created and then called the function, there are also two steps to follow when you want to use arguments. The first step is in the function creation, so this section here. Here we add in the variable name inside the parentheses for the inputs for the function. So for our example, we'll use num1 and num2. Let's add them in now. These parameters will hold the value of whatever is passed in when the function is called. So we're going to want to sum num1 and num2. So let's delete the console log, and we'll say num1 plus num2. Now for the second step. When we call the function, we want to add the specific values that we want to be used inside of the function, inside of the parentheses. So these parentheses here. So let's say we want to use 5 for num1 and 1 for num2. We'll add a console log so we can see the value returned. We'll save this, and we'll go back to the console and we'll press refresh. This doesn't work, and the reason why is that we're not returning anything from the function. Unless you use the return keyword in a function, it will never return any value other than undefined. So let's go back to the code, and we'll add the return keyword here. We'll save this, and we'll go back to the console, and we'll press refresh. And there we get our two values added together by the function, and the new total is returned.